What's going on, guys? Davis Hirsch here from Hirsch Power. Welcome back to another video. As the title suggests, today we're going to be installing the EPS tuning PCV delete kit on my Nissan 370Z Nismo, but this video will also apply to Infiniti G37 owners. This is what you're going to get when you unbox it. You'll have the instructions, of course, as well as two breather vents, two tubes. These will plug into the OEM plastic manifold, and these are just going to be some extra hardware they're going to use to delete the OEM sections that will be removed. Alright guys, so before we dive into the installation, I wanted to kind of provide an explanation of what the purpose of the PCV system is, as well as the benefit of deleting the system. Additionally, I have linked another install video in the description from Kova_motive. In case there's anything in my video that you got confused by or think you need another angle, go ahead and link or watch his video that I've linked below. I'm largely going to quote him in this next section about what the system does. So normally during regular engine operation, pressure builds up in your crankcase, and a one-way valve and tube connected to your valve cover releases that air and circulates it back into your intake system. In theory, this is a great idea, but the air also brings in oil, which can cause two main issues. First, over time, the oil accumulates in your intake tube, throttle body, and intake manifold, potentially leading to problems such as throttle body malfunction or sensor issues. Second, if your car is tuned for high performance fuel, the oil drawn into the intake system can lower the octane rating of that fuel. Of course, the ECU expects a certain octane rating, and the oil can alter that, thus altering performance. So as many of my viewers know, if you are familiar with this platform, the largest issue with it, as far as the motor goes, is that in the early model VQ37s, the gaskets behind the timing cover were made with, let's just call it a paper-like material. And through years of heat cycling, they break down and you lose oil pressure, and over time, your motor seizes. And by the time the oil pressure light comes on, it's too late. So in addition to the PCV delete system, I've also ordered the upgraded gaskets that EPS Tuning offers. Nissan in roughly 2013 to 2014, they started equipping all VQ37 VHR motors with a metal style gasket. If you can see, it's a bit more upgraded and resilient to heat cycling than the old paper style gasket. But where they messed up is that the bolts behind the timing cover back out, and you don't know, once again, till it's too late. So what EPS offers is these hex head screws. The difference with these hex head screws is that they will not back out over time, unlike the OEM hardware. But you will also Loctite these when you do your gallery gaskets, and they've included instructions along with the torque specs and the tightening sequence. And I will be making a video on this soon when I do have my gallery gaskets done, but the links to all these, as well as the PCV delete kit, will be linked in the description. So before we get started on my car, I do want to make it clear that I do already have aftermarket Z1 intakes. These are the 2.5-inch intakes, which have the Z1 PCV upper delete already done. But as you can see here, this OEM line is still under there that we will be replacing today. That's why it might look a little different in my video compared to what you have on both sides. It does the same exact thing as the OEM setup. There's not a ton of videos on this online, so I'm not exactly certain how it will work if you have the OEM style intakes. I've seen, from what it looks like in the videos, that you could potentially remove the upper PCVs without removing the strut bar, and other people are saying that you do have to take the strut bar off. Since I'm not going to be touching that, I'm not too sure how that's going to work. But what I will say is that you're going to take the two 10mm off the engine cover to start, and once we get this removed, you will see that this pops off. And okay, come on, man. There we go. Once we take this off, we can see where the OEM PCV valves go into the plenum. And before we walk away, we're going to go ahead and re-thread these bolts in just so we don't lose them. So to start, we're going to need some needle nose pliers along with a 24mm socket. It's really going to be a 23, but I don't have one of those. and the 24 fits it enough. It's not tight, so you won't round it. But first, what we're gonna do is use the needle nose pliers to remove this clamp, that one, as well as that one there, and this one on the passenger side. So the next thing you're going to do is take the two smaller caps that were provided in your kit, and you'll just slide those right on there, just like that. And then you'll take one of the smaller zip ties and just gently wrap it around that. Make sure it's snug, but you don't need it so tight that it's going to tighten into the rubber and crack it. After you've got those attached, what we're going to have to do is loosen this bolt here, as well as the bolt down there, because that is where the new bolts and the spacers go from EPS. The reason behind that is because we have to route the new lines from there, and they go underneath the fuel line right here, and then they sit over here, and if not, they'd rub, and we don't want to worry about that. So the next thing that we're going to go ahead and do is, if you have an OEM PCV system, you're going to do the same. Basically, since I have aftermarket intakes, I'm going to remove this from there and loosen that clamp down there before I plug them with these. So I really did not want to remove this intake tube. So what I did is disconnected this wiring harness from the little clip right there, and then nudged some needle nose pliers down in there, and I was able to wiggle this off. So the next thing you're going to do is go ahead and, before you tighten those down or thread them in, you're just going to thread them in hand tight at first, but you're going to put a bit of oil on the O-ring just to prevent it from tearing so that it can slide around as you're tightening it. Like I said, it'll just need to be a little bit finger tight as you first thread it in, and remember that the valve cover is plastic, so if you over tighten it, that's just going to be a bad day. So like I said, put some oil on the O-ring, and you'll thread that right in there, and then you can tighten it down once again with a 24 mil socket, or 23 if you have it. So as you can see here, what I've gone ahead and done is installed the metal spacers provided in the EPS tuning kit. I placed those underneath the silver bracket in the bottom left, as you can see right there. Additionally, what I'm going ahead and doing is threading in the fitting attachment that threads into the plastic valve cover. Keep in mind that that is torqued to 22 pounds, so you do not want to over torque that and destroy your valve cover. Alright guys, so as you saw in that last clip, I got the hose clamps tightened down on both sides, as well as I tightened down the bottom fittings. You will need a deep 23 or 24 millimeter socket. I did not realize that, so I hand tightened them as much as I can. I'm gonna just finish the video, take it for a test drive. Like he said, or like I said earlier, you don't want to get those too tight, because if you crack the plastic valve cover, you're kind of screwed. So I'm gonna see if they're leaking. I tightened them a lot, but we will see how it goes. All right guys, so once you've got everything put back together, what you're gonna do is just start the car up, of course, let it idle for a little bit, take a look at the fittings and everything, make sure nothing's leaking. take it around the block, 5-10 minutes, short little drive, and then of course pop the hood again, just double check everything's leaking. If you want to do it another week later after you've been daily driving the car, go for it, you know. But if you double check it, in my opinion, that's good to go. But I appreciate you guys for watching. If you do have any questions, feel free to leave those below. As well, I do have the products linked in the video description that I used in today's video. All right, like I said, guys, that's the end of today's video. I do want to follow up after that little 10-minute drive I did. I came back home. I did see that one of the PCV filters, or not filters, the fittings was leaking. So I tightened that up a little bit and it was good to go. Like I say, keep in mind the valve cover is torqued to 22 inch-pounds, not foot-pounds. I didn't strip mine, but I caught myself at the last second. Additionally, if you guys do have any more questions, feel free to leave those in the description below. I'll be happy to answer any of those questions you guys have. As well, my channel has recently been monetized, but as you can tell by my views, I'm not making much money yet. So if you do want to support the channel, I have links to my PayPal, Cash App, and Venmo in the description below. But once again, I appreciate all the support lately, and I look forward to hearing from y'all in the next video. See ya.